Hello and welcome to Chatty AF, the anime feminist podcast. Today we're finishing our watch-along of the underappreciated gem Den-noh Coil. My name is Caitlin, and I'm a writer and editor for Anime Feminist, as well as writing for the Daily Dot and my own blog, I Have a Heroin Problem. I'm joined today by fellow staff members Vrai and Peter.
Hey, I'm Vrai Kaiser. I'm an editor and contributor to Anime Feminist. I write all over the internet, but if you go to my Twitter, @WriterVry, and read the pinned thread, you can see all kinds of stuff that I do. Or you can check out the other podcast I co-host at TrashPod.
And I'm Peter Phobian. I'm an associate features editor at Crunchyroll and a contributor and editor at Anime Feminist.
I love how, just very concise and to the point you are, Peter.
Well practiced.
All right, so, unfortunately, because of life happening, we had to delay this recording for quite a while, so the events of the episodes may not be quite as fresh in our minds as would be ideal.
Oh, I remember one thing. Caitlin, you lied about the dog.
That's true.
I never lied about him.
Damn.
You said he was fine.
Yeah.
You said he was a good
fine
boy.
At that point.
That's misleading.
That's
I
what
didn't say
you
he would stay
said.
fine.
That's malfeasance.
Well, you were worried about him at that point, and I said he was fine.
Uh-huh.
Densuke just caught the shit the entire anime. So he's suffering.
Densuke is a good boy who will do anything for his people, for his humans.
He's a good dog. You know how I
He's a
know?
good
He's a
dog.
dog.
That's true.
It's like the Chad of Den-noh Coil. That was a Bleach reference, so maybe not the best one to make.
That was a what?
A Bleach reference.
Who even are you?
Yeah.
I see. I hear Chad now, unfortunately, and I think of incels.
Oh.
But Chad is a good boy. I actually stopped reading Bleach when I realized Chad was just gonna get shit on.
Gonna get super punched to show how strong each of the villains was.
Over again.
That's
and I was
true.
like, no more.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's the Team Rock. Okay.
He's the Worf, yeah, or Team Rocket. It's a well-worn trope. The one who takes the punch so that you know how bad the situation is.
Mm-hmm. And then he doesn't do anything for the rest of the arc.
Yep.
Wow, usually that's a female character in shonen anime.
Oh, there are those two.
Yeah, but Bleach has got everything.
Bleach has got a lot of
all
issues.
of that, yeah. Anyway, welcome to our Bleach watch-along.
Oh, God,
no.
God.
No, thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm too old to watch Shonen Jump battle anime. I'll die in the middle of them.
Oh, My Hero Academia is good.
It seems nice.
And One Piece and Naruto.
No.
Yes, they're very good.
Listen, my issues with One Piece are well documented.
I mean, I have issues with both of them. I still like them.
Naruto is just sort of garden variety. I'm kind of tired of this, and I'm not going to read it anymore. One Piece, I started having issues with how he drew the women.
Yeah.
And he was very disrespectful to mothers. And I was just like, you know what? Screw this. And so I stopped reading it.
I was saying One Piece fans deserve a Bardock-style flashback movie, except it's about Belmere.
But anyway,
yeah.
So we're not here to talk about Shonen Jump anime. We're going on tangents before we've even started.
It's been
So the Den-noh Coil conclusion, how did you guys feel about it?
I had a feeling. My heart meat.
That's good.
All right.
It gave Vrai a feeling. Did it give you a lot of feelings? Did you had an emotion, Vrai?
I did. I had an emotion.
So Vrai had an emotion. Peter, did you have an emotion?
I thought the central conclusion with Yasuko and Isako was pretty good. But, I remember I was taking some notes about all the different plot threads, and I realized, in service of that, it seems like I felt like a lot of other people were really underserved. Mm-hmm. Some plots were not wrapped up messily, or the character just didn't get to do anything at all, like Fumie.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think good on you for taking notes, because honestly, Like, it gets pretty hard to follow there
Mm-hmm.
toward in the last few episodes. Even having watched it twice, I was just like, what? Wait, okay, hold on. Okay, wait, they're throwing a lot of terms really fast at me. I can't keep up. So keeping notes was actually a really smart idea, and I just cannot do that because it just turns into doodling.
I will say that not long after I finished watching it, I was kind of describing it to my wife, what the series was about and why I was having an emotion, and her response to kind of summing up the whole digital ghosts and the death, holding on to dead people by way of technology thing with, oh, so it's like baby's first Strange Days, and now I can't stop thinking about how it's like that Catherine Bigelow film.
I haven't seen Strange Days.
Never even heard of that.
It's like a film about VR and VR as a narcotic, and a lot of the same things about how people use, memories in these perfectly recorded clips to linger in the past and remember things from that are no longer there, rather than move on with their lives in a healthy way. Except Den-noh Coil has the advantage of not being well-meaning but extremely out of its lane. Because Strange Days is also about racial politics, as directed by a white woman.
Oh, really great. Thank you, Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, it mean well, but there's some yikes. There's some yikes.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll get into this a little bit more later, but sort of the concept of the other side, I think, works really well with the idea of like a connected but separate cyber world really works well with Shinto, which I think, as we saw in the show.
Yeah, kind of walking through the gates to get to the other side thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's very significant that the other side is usually marked by torii gates. And I think I went into this like in the last episode or a couple episodes ago, but the fact that like shrines going through torii gates are safe from the Sachis in the earlier episodes. And then once the Sachis start being able to go into those, it's such a violation.
Yeah, no, I think I mentioned this last time we got together, is that the technology is essentially dressing over a basically supernatural plot, which is a kind of an interesting mishmash.
It is. And it's interesting how it takes the ideas it starts off feeling relatively plausible, right? Like it's basically more advanced augmented reality Google Glasses sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes the those concepts and it kind of extends them into sort of a more supernatural plot, but in a way that like never feels like, wait a second, we're getting kind of out there here. Like it's all like logically extended from the technology and from the setup.
Didn't it kind of walk that back though?
Like how?
Because it was establishing, like, they were sort of building up this supernatural element to the plot and saying, like, oh, it either is in touch with or acting as an afterlife, since it's got all these recorded memories of things that used to exist that haven't been properly deleted. But then it turned out that those were just sort of an error built out of, like, the central ghost was not Haruken's sister, or was it his sister?
His friend.
It was Isako, or is it Isako, right? The taller one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was Isako's like cyber profile from that really weird therapeutic program that guy made. So that was one thing that I wasn't quite clear on. So like, I guess they were just saying, oh, none of that afterlife stuff actually happened. It was just like the result of all of this, like this really bad, janky as hell program this guy made, and then didn't get to properly close out because he died before he could finish the therapy. And that was
right.
that was where all that supposedly supernatural stuff was coming from.
Yeah, a lot of the supernatural plot, as I gather it, because, like you said, Peter, it certainly starts to spiral out toward the end, is that Michiko and the other Michiko and the other ghosts, quote unquote, have basically realized that they are the dream in the child's snow globe, and so their goal is to not get her to wake up, because then they'll all go away. Which is fucked up in a way that the show doesn't quite touch on, since it's focused on Isako getting closure with her brother specifically.
Yeah.
Right. It's sort of like it almost feels like the messiness of the human consciousness doesn't interface very well with the sort of like the inherent messiness of the human consciousness kind of like creates glitches when it interacts with computer programming, with like computer programs, no matter how advanced the computer program is, because like the way it may respond to like certain human mental processes or like certain feelings or certain emotions might, because the brain is so like unpredictable and complicated and not like, and I say computers are cleanly logical when I know that like a lot of them are very like they have glitches, but like, you know, like the brain is more advanced and more of a black box than like the most advanced computer program.
Right.
And so like the brain, like the program encounters something that like the programmers couldn't account for in like these, you know, incredibly complex possibilities of the brain. And so it tries to make up for that with like something weird and unpredictable, like creating a separate consciousness, like semi-consciousness, like Michiko, as a manifestation of Isako's negative feelings and jealousy when she sees Yasuko interacting with the program of her brother. That's a long shuddering sigh.
I think it works out in the end, and like I get the impetus towards like I think it works out on the child logic level that, oh no, someone's going to take my brother away. You know, that feeling is very real, except this isn't not like another girl his own age. This is not even somebody he's friend. It's just, she showed up once. But women competing. It's one of those things where like it's a real emotion, but also the way that it's seeded into the plot so that it can be a reveal later is so clumsy.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of stuff was like that too, because remember, Yasuko admitted that she had a crush on Haruken, and that was essentially the end of his place in the narrative almost, because after that he's in a coma for a long time. I think he does one thing to help her get into the virtual space where Isako got her therapy, but I don't even think he was part of the conclusion after that. You're like not sure where they leave things off. In fact, his whole plot kind of got bookended. I think, like in the book, his dad was just like
at the end of the last.
I guess it was a line. They're just like, yeah, actually, your sister's death was just an accident. No malfeasance or anything going on there. But I'm going to make sure that it gets reported correctly, Haruken.
Well, because the whole thing is that they covered it up, saying that she was at fault, and he was like, no, she wasn't at fault. Like and so it wasn't something that ended up being like, you know, connected to urban legends like he thought it might be, but it was but it wasn't her fault. It was a glitch, and they're going to account for that glitch now so that it doesn't happen again. Mm-hmm. Which I thought, like, it's not like the most like emotional way to wrap up his plotline, but like he gets some vindication and he gets some recognition that like, no, we did mess up here.
Yeah, it wasn't all for nothing.
Yeah.
Closure as possible. I wasn't super mad at Haruken essentially playing the love interest role, which is basically how his character works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I do find their relationship a little bit underdeveloped, especially compared to Isako and Yasuko relationship, because I really shipped them by the end.
Oh my god, it was super felt like a romance at the end.
My heart in the hospital scene, and I'm dying, and they're good, and
the music is playing while they're looking at each other on the stairs, and
Isako talks about she was afraid to let people into her heart, but now because of Yasuko she can, and I had a feeling.
She even said she wouldn't describe them as friends either, so you can interpret that how you like.
Yeah, like
they're a much better relationship. Like Haruken is fine, but also he's pretty milquetoast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Haruken is a perfectly good boy.
He is a
but
nice
he's
boy.
really boring. He's really boring. He's just, I'm not like, you can have like good boys that are not boring, but he is just, he's very boring. And like, I don't know, I wasn't like, you know, when I see two characters that seem to be going down that road, two nice characters going down that road, I'm like, yeah,
nice people communicating, yay!
You kiss each other, no kiss, or maybe not because you're like 12, but like
right, hold hands awkwardly in the hallway.
hold hands awkwardly, but like when at the end when Haruken and like Yasuko were like, oh, maybe some first love, and they like look away from each other blushing, I'm like,
Yeah, I mean,
nice.
That is definitely the kind of first crush relationship, and it lasts a year, and then you part amicably as friends. Like, it's
wow,
fine.
a whole year, you think?
I'm giving it a generous guess.
I remember the 7th grade relationships that I saw, most of them lasted like 2 weeks.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm like, Haruken at least had an arc. He got closure for his arc, even if he dropped out afterwards. Fumie, I was a lot more disappointed that she's just...
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't she offer to help? Like,
yeah,
why?
instead they call in Daichi instead of Fumie, so he gets a bigger part in, like, the final chase.
Yeah. I mean, him running down the street, screaming that he has to pee, trying to get into trying to get into people's houses is...
Saving the dog.
Pretty great.
I laughed.
But they even show, like, Fumie sitting on her balcony just watching the final events of the series happen, just going like, oh, that looks exciting. Daichi's
like,
running around saving the dog's life. Temporarily.
Like, I know they have to pare it down so that the final conflict feels tighter for emotional reasons, but it's just weird that she doesn't even show interest, and they find another way to, like, get, say that she can't help.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like they could have gotten rid of some episodes in the middle, maybe, and really kind of padded out.
I know, but there's no
characters.
like there aren't really any episodes in there that I would have wanted to get rid of. Like the standalone episodes are all like they're so strong. Like I can't think of anything like that I would have wanted to get rid of.
The beard episode.
No, the beard episode was good.
It too many questions. Sentient life created by AI.
No, that's when the show finally started to hit its stride. If I were gonna cut some, it would probably be in the first 6.
Okay. The beard episode and the whole, like, them having, like, their spirits getting taken out of their body, but, it turns out that I guess that's possible, but the afterlife does not exist. So, for some reason, your brain can literally be removed from your body by this digital space. But there's nothing supernatural going on because it's actually
right. Well, it's like it's not like quote. It's not supernatural, but it's still dealing with like sort of the separation, like the consciousness, and separating the consciousness from the physical space and putting it into this virtual space, the other side. Basically, going from. Once again, working with the Shinto imagery that the show has so much of, it's going from the physical realm to the spiritual realm, and there's a lot there is a lot of imagery to support that, especially in the last few episodes. Like, there's a lot of stuff where I look at it, I'm like, I know this is a thing, but I'm not quite sure what that thing is. Like, the grandfather wearing the bell on his wrist, the sound of bells. Is very connected to that somehow in a way that I cannot quite remember. Yep. But I know that like the sound of like the sound of the bells is really important there.
There's definitely a lot of Shinto underpinnings here that I didn't quite have the cultural context for. It reminds me of the last time I watched Wolf's Rain and felt completely locked out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, users, if any of you are better educated on Shinto and folklore, please give us a comment, because we love this kind of shit.
Yes.
And we love it when readers and listeners help fill holes in our own knowledge. So please, I would love to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. I remembered what I was going to say earlier, and been trying to remember it for the past 5 minutes now. But I think with the Afterlife stuff, there's an interesting shift as it gets into the reveal with that all of this is the product of Isako's mind, where like the first, maybe even 2/3 of the series talks about the other side, and all of this is like a collective unconscious thing, whether or not this is the real afterlife or not, or just something that we have created, like a creative space by humanity. Does that or doesn't it make it real? And it's kind of dealing with all these heavy questions in an unspoken way, but that doesn't really work when you lock it into being the product of one person, which it decides it has to do for this character arc to come to a close. And like,
right. Well, it's almost like, the way I think of it is it's not just like a supernatural space. Like it was created, it's not a product of Yasuko's mind, but it was created for her, right?
Isaco.
But it's like, but the imagery, like when Yasuko, or not for, it wasn't created for Yasuko, it was created for Isako. Mm-hmm. Like they've made it clear that like Isako could get into, or
Isako is in the coma. Yasuko is
gotta keep the name straight. Yasuko could access it because she had her grandfather's goggles, and because she had Densuke. And Densuke is like, Densuke plays a really important role as the guide. But like it almost looked like a debug space when Yasuko was in it and looking for Isako. Mm-hmm. With all of the like textures and everything. So I wonder if like somehow like someone stumbled on it. It's definitely not clear how these things sort of morphed from this computer program made for this specific little girl to this sort of subject of urban legend.
I guess it ties into this series thing about old e-spaces and what happens to and the last plesiosaur and what happens to things created and then left alone. So like that, the thematic connection is there, but I feel like as I can almost see the writers in the background who've got all these nice, interesting ideas and these neat characters, and then they realize that they've got 6 episodes and they're like, fuck.
The show could have used, like, I think if they had like even like another core, like another 13 episodes, if they made some like one-offs that were as solid in quality as the ones that they had, and then used like, and then also had that to like really like sum up the series better, I feel like it would have been a stronger thing. It was also Iso's his first series that he directed in full, so it does make sense that it has some pacing issues. Like,
yeah, that happens.
It's a freshman effort. And it's a really good freshman effort.
And I don't even know what another core would look like, because like the personal narratives all wrap up. It's just that the themes are bigger than the personal conflicts have room for. And then at the end, you introduce you kind of have this whole thing with the brothers that's kind of tacked on, like, all right, I guess that's your deal.
Oh, the villain. Yeah, that felt so just like, oh, we need a villain. So let's just make this. We introduced that glasses guy, right? Let's make him really hate the company, and he's willing to literally kill a child to get them in trouble.
Fucking shady.
Yeah. And then we'll make that little guy his brother to betray. I mean, I liked the moment where his brother betrayed him and like shut off his glasses and everything, but he felt like pretty, like it would. His whole explanation was very rushed and kind of cardboard.
Like, he's been spooky and mysterious the whole time, but once the turn happens, it's like, all right, this wasn't really planted well.
Yeah.
Okay. As you know, little brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. That scene. Yes, as you know, our plan, being that I hate the company, is to get Isako to literally die, and then they'll get in big trouble, and it'll reveal all the stuff they've been hiding. I don't even remember. Like, his parents got in trouble or something, right?
His father didn't get any credit for the legacy of things he'd created, which is that's a fine...
Yeah, it is.
That's a fine motivation, but there's no, like, sense of what that meant for their lives, other than just, like, a very petty...
Their mom is sick or something, and he thinks that the only way to cure her is to get revenge for this or something.
My mom's got that, doesn't have revenge disease.
Okay, I'm okay.
Mom's suffering from the lack of closure-itis.
I just need some closure and then I can walk again.
God. Like, it's one of those things that on paper you're like, all right, this makes sense for a character and why this character would be doing this, but if you're going to ramp up to from is kind of a dick in a mysterious way and spies on people to would literally kill a child, I'm gonna need some backstory, bro.
Yeah, it also seemed like he could have done the same thing just by, he had access to the files, or he, like, knew about all their dirty laundry, right? He could have just handed that to the press or something, but instead he wanted to literally kill a child. That was his plan. That's the scandal he wanted, rather than just releasing all the shit that they'd already covered up. That was kind of...
We need a ticking clock for Isako, and we have no other way to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably... Nekoya is probably one of the weaker part of the series, and his little brother, whose name I can't remember, Takeru. That's right, his name is Takeru. It's the same as TKA's name in Digimon.
Yes.
And that's why I know that.
Takeru was a nice boy. I liked him okay.
Part and parcel of all that, too, was kind of just, like, the very convenient amnesia both Yasuko and Isako had. Like, I think by the end, Yasuko literally remembered everything except for the important parts. And, like, she said she remembered talking to somebody, but somehow forgot it was her dead grandfather that she met in, like, a walkway, and they had a big conversation. But I don't quite... She just remembered it was a person, right?
What happens to the other side is kind of dreamlike, right? Their memories, everyone's memories of what happened over there are fuzzy.
Like, on the one hand, child memories are weird, and you fabricate a lot to fill in the blanks, and you forget something that's important, maybe. On the other hand, it was very convenient.
Yeah, like, you didn't think she would have gone home and go, like, oh, I was out for a walk and I got lost and I met Grandpa, or something, and her mom wouldn't remember that, and, like, maybe tease her about it, or something like that.
Well, her mom did talk about the time she got lost.
But, like, nothing... I feel like if you're a kid and you meet your dead grandparent, you're probably going to go home and, like... They're like, oh, did you get lost? You're like, yeah, but Grandpa showed me the way home. And they're like, honey, Grandpa's
honey, you're
dead.
not dealing well with grief.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe that did happen. Maybe she did go home and be like, oh, yeah, I guess she misses her grandfather.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
and she was making stuff up, like...
They didn't.
Mom's not hooked in.
Yeah, I will say I really liked the, you have to do it to do that thing where you go into the third act and all of a sudden the stakes are raised and you have the all is lost moment. But, like, also, just from a pure content perspective, I really liked the parents stepping in a believable parenty way.
Yeah.
Because,
okay, these glasses are dangerous, we're taking them away. And the kids are like, no, you don't understand. And the parents are like, no, seriously. Like,
yeah, it doesn't
bad
feel like...
shit is happening.
Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, the parents have to be obstructive now because plot says so. No, a child is in the hospital.
Yeah, like, bad stuff is happening. Like, if, like, I had a kid that, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a more concrete example.
Was Pokemon going into abandoned construction centers at night?
Or like they were a 16-year-old playing Pokemon Go while they're driving and then they kill someone. Like if I read a news article about that, I would be like, yeah, I might delete Pokemon Go off your phone because, like, teens do stupid stuff and you can't always, like, be sure, and sometimes risks are too big to take. And the parents aren't, like, they're generally not as into the glasses technology.
Wouldn't that be like the scandal that guy was looking for, though? Literally, parents were too afraid to let their kids wear glasses, which was the foundation of this digital space technology. And he's like, no, that's not enough.
I feel like Nekoya is not the most stable guy.
Yeah.
But like, why? What have you been doing? Where we have information. Ugh.
But going back to, like, the scene with Yasuko and her mom was really sweet.
Yeah, it was nice. That was a really this show does quiet scenes super well.
It does. And just being like, hey, the real I know, like, you're sad about your dog and, like, you're upset about losing your glasses, but there's so much, like, cool stuff in the real world, like, the real world is warm. And talking about how, like, she lost trying to relate to her, talking about how she lost her pet when she died. Like, Yasuko has really good parents.
Mm-hmm. Even though her dad is conveniently absent for most of the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
that's just being a Japanese
like,
dad.
He just, working all kinds of hours. He was probably working a lot when the scandal was happening. Mm-hmm. But of course he's the number one member of the hacker club.
That's so cute. That's such a cute scene.
No, I really, really liked Yasuko's parents.
Yeah, and
like all of the family relationships, and I think I've talked about this before, are really interesting in this show. Like you see Daichi's sort of like macho dad and his like relationship with his own like kind of his masculinity / being a shrimp, a nerdy shrimp shithead, and like Isuka's family relationship is really it's really badly damaged.
Yeah, I wish there was more time with her parents, because a lot of like her sort of plot was that she was
with her aunt.
Yeah, and it sounds like they were aware of the whole digital therapy thing, but I guess she just wasn't convinced by them when they said he died straight away. Like I guess she just thought that they were lying to her.
Right.
Even though they had pretty much all the information they needed, right? But they were just introduced like in the last 3 or 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm. You got a brief glimpse of them earlier, but Isuko's not really she's clearly not really communicating with them, probably because she thinks they abandoned her brother, but her brother is actually dead because Neko's been implanting false shit in her head for so long, and her aunt does seem to care about her, and plus she was abused as a child.
Yeah.
Her mom hit her when she was very young.
That was some heavy shit to just drop in there at the end.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And I don't think you get as messed up as Isuko is with a healthy family situation.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, in Japan there's very much a silence around child abuse. There's a lot of stuff in the news about that right now with the poverty issues for single mothers and how that's relating into, increased cases of child abuse. But also narratively, all right, that came in at the end, and it's not exactly treated... It's not treated insensitively or lightly, but it is also...
They just kind of drop it.
Yeah.
They just kind of drop it in there. It's like, wait, what? Wait, what? Hold up.
Wait, stop. Yeah, I will say something, for... Not putting aside, Neko, there's... I think the way we're talking about this show versus when I was watching this show, aside of Neko, a lot of the stuff is, you can... If you pick at it a little bit, it starts to fall apart, but emotionally, it holds together really well while you're watching.
I think that's fair. And I think, the emotional journey of Yasuko, and I do think having a little bit more time to work with and a little bit better pacing could have resolved some of those issues. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it is a series about being on the edge, right? In the very end, if the emotional beats work, then the series is working, because in the end, I do think that a lot of the sci-fi elements are even though they are the plot, a lot of them are sort of metaphorical for they're on the edge of puberty, they're about to graduate elementary school and move on to middle school, they are sort of in just everything about their lives are sort of in that in-between space, and they're sort of looking at the other side, and it's terrifying, but also exciting. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And again, this show is very good at zeroing in on kind of those quiet, melancholy adolescent moments. You know, I got cranky when Densuke died because I don't like dead dogs, but, you know, anime and media in general like to kill pets for shock value, but I rarely see ones that are so adept at actually conveying the sense of loss that is a child losing their pet. Like, it was, those scenes were really affecting. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like, he was a good dog. Like,
he was a good dog. He's a good boy.
And he played his role as, the guide figure. You know, he guided Yasuko back when she was on the other side. He guided Kyoko back when she wandered over to the other side. Like, maybe that's what was going on. Is it was just, like, there was just a glitch in the program that, like, it could find, like, whatever was making it so that it could access Isako's unconscious mind. Like, it could find, a young sleeping child with glasses on. Mm. This is what our program is. Like, this is sort of what we're supposed to take her over. Maybe that was what was going on. Or maybe I'm just trying to make sense of something that doesn't totally make sense. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm
maybe,
okay with it either way.
I think that's plausible. I don't think the show really gives any meat to support it. Like, it is an early program, so the parameters are probably not as specific, which could lead to screw-ups like that. But I don't feel like the show really... You're meeting it 3/4 of the way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And, like, you know, I'm okay with that.
This is why headcanons. It's good. It's fine. And I'm not, you know, we talked about weeks ago that this is a story. This is the kind of sci-fi story where the themes serve the characters as opposed to the characters being stand-ins to explain the themes. And this is something that can be an outcome of that, is that sometimes the more interesting thematic stuff kind of gets set aside so that the character arcs can shake out, and I'm okay with that on the whole.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am just trying to make up, because I was also thinking about, like, Fumie not being present, and it's kind of like, well, Fumie is not really the kind of person who would tap into this sort of stuff, right? Fumie is pragmatic. Mm-hmm. Fumie believes in what makes logical sense in her world, and she's not always the most open to things that do not sort of act in accordance with that. Like, like the placebo. God, I can't remember what it was exactly, but she was just like she dismissed something where she's like, that doesn't make sense.
She was real, because she was there for the invasion of the shadow creatures at Yasuko's house, the spooky horror episode.
Oh, right, and she's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, should not be possible. Like, and she was like trying to figure out, wait, like, when Yasuko was talking about it before, she was, God, I really wish that we had been able to record sooner after we all watched it.
It's okay. Well, yeah, like, I feel what you're saying, that, like, the final scenes between Yasuko and Isako are very extremely 90s anime, where, like, no, damn logic, you're going to reach out with your heart. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
but that's not
my
like
heart
the Fumie
feels
thing.
where she is. But, you know, I mean, in the end, like, it doesn't totally work, but it works.
Yeah, it
worked for me.
This is a good show. Like, I definitely would not have stuck with it if I hadn't had to do it for the podcast, but I liked the second half a lot. I feel once it really dug into those, I see why the early episodic stuff is there and important for setting in tone and some early plot elements, and, like, the beard episode and the last plesiosaur are really good at balancing those two spaces, but the second core was really where it was at for me, because then it had these lighter moments, but also it was fully entrenched into telling a sequential narrative and exploring what this world meant, and I liked that a lot, and I think it is very good at handling these ideas of digital spaces and grief and memory. And, you know, it also, like, it doesn't quite stick the landing, but I appreciate that it's trying to find a balance between those, you know, being a show that's like, technology can be dangerous, but also not technology bad.
Right. Yeah, it definitely does, like, sort of try to walk that line. Just because I feel like things tend to be like very much one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, but Den-noh Coil is like, yeah, hey, there are risks to like being so embroiled into like the digital world, and hey, the real world's they're really nice, guys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, it values that. Like, it values the possibilities and the potential.
There are definitely parts
technology.
of... Yeah. There are definitely parts of this show where I could feel, like, Iso, like, what if a warmer human version of Lane?
I never watched Lane.
It's also about...
I've heard Watch Haibane if you actually want. Like, that's the good stuff, and Lane's the not-so-good stuff.
I liked Haibane.
Yeah. So.
I still need to watch it. It's been on my watch list for a decade.
Yeah, me too.
I own the DVDs and it's still on my watch list.
Haibane would be a very good, not Watchalong because it's only 13, but it would be a good retrospective.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably would.
That would get me to watch it for sure. I just need to take my entire watch list and turn them all into retrospectives. That's how I'll get through this anime backlog.
God, there's so much. All the time there is so much.
Yep. I'm glad that they didn't fall into one category or the other in regards to if technology is good or bad, but I wish they had done that in terms of whether the series was trying to be supernatural or not, because I feel like they kind of waffled and it wasn't even just trying to be ambiguous, it was just like maybe they were undecided or they couldn't figure out how to enforce it one way or the other. I wish they'd sort of taken a stance, like sort of written things out to the end and then asked themselves how everything could be explained either from a supernatural or from a non-supernatural perspective, and kind of maybe had things be misinterpreted so that it does have that ambiguity leading in toward the end, but maybe give us kind of a cleaner feeling after the fact where we can realize in actuality how things went, or just have that greater question. One of the two. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I feel what you're like. I feel what you're saying, Peter, and I've enjoyed shows like that. That kind of, I feel like that kind of balance is super fucking hard to maintain in a show this long. This isn't even a long show, but like, you know, Paranoia Agent did it. But
Paranoia Agent was Satoshi Kon, who's a genius,
right? Well, and also it's only 13 episodes. Like, it had a really high level experienced director. And it had a shorter time frame so that it could more tightly control, you know, its thematic presence and a smaller cast and all these other factors. So,
yeah,
like, I would have liked a little bit more fine tuning, but also this is a first project and a lot of other factors. It's fine. It's okay. I'm fine.
Is there anything else that you guys would change about the show? Other than, you know, just changing the pacing, making it shorter or longer, just so that the ending was a little bit more coherent and had a little bit more time to breathe.
It's a small, like, I liked him okay by the end. I thought him helping out with the final sort of race to the finish was very sweet, but Daichi is such an ancillary character by the time the second half starts and the plot gets going, and they spend so much of the first half focusing on him.
Yeah, I do think the first and second half could be better connected, because like the first half is like a fun, like, kind of ensemble sci-fi comedy, and the second half is like very, like, kicks up very fast, and sort of like all of the extraneous plot that's not like totally necessary to resolving the thing with Isako and Yasuko. Like, I feel like that all of that drops away very quickly.
It's like, I see why you need a character like Daichi, and he had some good scenes. He's gonna turn out okay as kids go, but just there's a lot of him.
Imagine if Fumie had shoulder checked those guys and Chudo throwed the bullies. That would have been. Yes. I mean, I was actually thinking that was going to be Daichi's big moment, but then he got the whole thing in the end with the chase too, which was just like, I thought was too much. But like, as a final moment for Daichi, I thought that would have been a good one. But I mean, they could have given, instead he got 2 and Fumie got 0. which felt bad.
Oh yeah, there was that. I forgot about the judo moment where I was torn between, oh, he had a nice moment and they friends, and this is about physical versus digital reality, etc., etc. But then part of me was like, oh, it's because boy's strong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fortunately, in Planet With, the girls do all the judo throwing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Planet With is good. You should watch it.
Yeah, true.
If you're not watching it,
you sold me hard with the judo girls, I'll admit it.
I feel like everyone on the Anime team right now loves Planet With.
Well, that's because it's probably one of the best anime this season. Like, easily top 3.
I'm saying it's got the Anime seal of approval.
Yeah, definitely.
At time of recording.
I just did a thumbs up.
Yeah. I think... I know you two really like all the middle episodes, the one-offs. I think I think this series needed to be 2 core, but what I probably would have done is just cut out all of that in the middle. Maybe gotten rid of Daichi and his gang entirely because I don't feel like they were plot important, and then spent all that extra time that I've just given myself on padding out narratives for Taraken, the villain, and Fumie to give them all, to make them, I don't know, have better explained, give them more satisfying endings, and just kind of give a greater sense of continuity to all the characters, rather than just kind of like spending all this time on Daichi and his friends, and then having absolutely nothing to show at the end for it.
Right. So you would just tighten it up, pretty much.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the early episode stuff is fun, and I think it sells a lot of the kids' stuff, but I think you could have done that while also introducing a lot of the late game second half characters earlier, and maybe making them feel more grounded in the conflict rather than taped on to provide explanations for why things get out of control.
Yeah, it feels like Takeru could have come in a lot earlier.
He could have. I think so too. Yeah, you are not wrong.
But also the show gives you a heart feeling.
You're not wrong, but I feel like a lot of that first half stuff is what makes the show special to me. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I would love it as much if it had, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be good without it, but I don't think I would have connected to it as strongly.
Well, that's where a lot of just the, kids being kids stuff that you liked is. And
yeah,
that is...
and I really appreciate how the show has, how it shows, just the messy, ridiculousness of adolescence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the stuff that feels the most grounded, which isn't a thing that speaks to me as much, but I can see why it's valuable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just also really well-written children in anime. And it's always really gratifying to see. And it's and also, I don't know. I feel like we talk about Daichi so much in this podcast, but I do think the show really does give a good sense that he's shitty now, but there's hope for him to become a human in the future.
Oh yeah, I knew kids like
someday
Daichi who
a
turned
real
into
boy.
Okay adults.
He'll be a real boy someday.
Yes, no, as a well-written, realistic child, A+. As a narrative device, less, please.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. There were a lot of characters that could have done the things he did that, I think Haruken and Fumie, if they'd been given all that time, could have gotten a lot further. Or it would have been more satisfying to have them accomplish those things and feel like stronger presences in the story, rather than this Daichi who we're supposed to not like in the beginning. I mean, I like a kind of bully's redemption. I really loved a silent voice, but if that's kind of happening on the sidelines to all this other stuff, and arguably Fumie's the one that literally pulls Yasuko into all this, and then Haruken is the one that gets them in on the mystery, they seem way more important as both characters and narratively.
I guess the toxic masculinity stuff with Daichi doesn't really go anywhere, does it? Because, he's clearly the way he is partly because of his family, and, like we said, he's probably going to turn out okay, but then the result for his character is, it is good to protect people, but also in this strongly using the same...
Full stop.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's good to show. I definitely think his story is good, right? It's good to show, like, both that, like, little shitty kids aren't beyond redemption, and showing, like, that you can sort of give that kind of stuff up, or maybe, like, I don't know, just like him kind of realizing that he was just like that what he was doing wasn't getting him anything at the end of the day. It was just making him miserable, because he actually liked Fumie, and all he was doing was basically making her hate him, right? And like, none of his friends were really friends, because it was the whole dynamic for their social group was just like a male power game, right? Like, that's how they drove Haruken out, or they drove Haruken out of the club, because the other guy just, like, they kind of just bullied him out, and Haruken wasn't interested in playing that game, so he just said, I'll leave. So I think it's good that, like, showing somebody kind of, like, caught up in that can sort of let it go. Although I don't know if I would even really says he let it go. He just kind of, like, maybe changed his priorities. He still seemed to be falling back on those same kind of behaviors, just to in a constructive rather than a destructive way. Which might still not be that great. Better, but maybe not that great still. What am I saying? I basically like what happened with Daichi, but I don't know if the story had that much time for all that, or if it really like drove home the like it had a place in the larger narrative as well.
Yeah,
like a lot of things in the show, the intent behind his kind of character and arc is good, but the execution is messy.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's fair. I just really love
You know who's very good? Megaba.
She is
definitely good.
More Megaba. That's what I would change.
That would have been good. I kind of didn't like I was really a lot of this convenient stuff where, like, she had the key, like, locked up in the attic the whole time, and her husband never told her about all this cool stuff, all this, like, probably priceless, like, digital workshop that was in her attic the whole time, and that she didn't find. But yeah, I liked everything she did in the story. It was cool.
She's very good as cool trickster mentors go.
Yeah. Especially in a story which is about, you know, like, emergent technology, and showing that it's, like, that's not just going to leave an old generation behind. I mean, certainly a lot of them will have trouble catching up, most likely, but that doesn't mean that they can't be part of the, whatever you want to call it, new movement that's comes out of these new technologies.
Also, imagining her and her husband, like, meeting because they're both tech geeks is good and cute.
Yeah,
that is cute.
That's the flashback I want, how their grandparents met. That would have been cool. Megabun never waxed poetic about her past or anything.
Nope.
But
all right,
but it's good.
That's the one-off episode.
This is a good show that I liked, and I would recommend it to people and say that, like, if they're not feeling the first couple episodes, you could. I don't know that you can really skip a bunch of stuff, but you could try out, like, the beard episode and see if that strikes you better, because that's an indicator of what the show turns into.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, the beard episode or the last... Well...
You really can't start with Last Plesiosaur is the
No.
problem.
You can't, because it's sad, and it actually does draw on a lot of concepts in the show. Start with the beard episode if you're not sure.
Right, and then, like... Then try the early episodes again, knowing it leads to that, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Are we done? Are we good?
I think we
Should I
did
lead
the
us
thing.
out?
Yep.
All right, so that's our episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, you can check out our website at animefeminist.com. And if you really like us, you can consider becoming a patron on our Patreon, patreon.com/animefeminist. Even $1 a month helps. I think about half of our donors are only give about $1 a month, and it adds up super fast, and it's a huge important help. You can also follow our Twitter at Anime Feminist, our Facebook Anime Fem, and our Tumblr is also Anime Feminist. So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed our watch along of Den-noh Coil. And hopefully some of you decided to watch a show that you wouldn't have normally because of it. So thanks, Annie Fam.
Pet your dog.
Pet your dog.
Even if they digital.
Pet your digital pets. Get out that Tamagotchi.
I was going to say Neopets.
Please don't start that again.